Well, a roadshow brings us right downtown. We are in just above Stephen Avenue Mall. You know where those white tree things are, the Galleria of Trees? We're right in the midst of them today, and we're talking about issues as we're 1 week away, can you believe it, to the provincial election, and advanced polling, in fact, opens today. Joining us now to talk about this area, the Beltline, and the many, many big issues facing this part of our city is Peter Oliver. He is a Beltline resident and a community advocate. Good to have you join us.
Hey, thanks for having me on.
So to bring us, what is the biggest issue for you? I mean, we've been talking a lot about quasi-empty big buildings down here. From your perspective, though, downtown, what's the biggest issue provincial-wise?
Well, I think it's important to consider where we are right now, because 6 years ago, in June of 2013, the lights were out here. It was completely empty. The entire downtown was shut down for 2 to 3 weeks. And downtown here, we have over 100 head offices, close to, I think it's 100,000 jobs down here. That's 20% of the jobs in Calgary. So if you're thinking about it from like a business and livelihoods perspective of the city, flood protection, flood mitigation is absolutely essential. It's not a nice to have, it's a must have. And the past two governments both found that the Springbank Reservoir was the best, most cost-effective, most environmentally responsible way to protect the downtown and the river communities in Calgary. So I get a little bit concerned when I hear some parties, like the UCP, that are saying one thing to voters in Calgary about the Springbank Reservoir, that they're going to build it, and rurally, to most of their base, they're telling them another thing, that they're not going to build it. And I know this government's been working hard to push through the federal environmental regulations, which is a process and takes some time. But building the Springbank Reservoir is absolutely essential down here.
I'm not never be accused of being a UCP mouthpiece, but they have denied that particular split on saying, they're saying we'll do more research. We support the Springbank Dam, but we want to do more study. But it is a huge issue down here. We're also talking about buildings, and when you think of how we get them filled again, what comes to mind for you?
Well, I think we know that we have to diversify the economy here. So even if the price of oil picks up, even if we get some pipelines, oil and gas alone aren't going to fill all these towers. And so we have to look at what kinds of businesses, or businesses in general, that we can attract to the province. And I think this is where there's a little bit of a misunderstanding when people in the election say that, social issues like LGBTQ rights or women's rights, they're nice, but we got to focus on jobs and filling the office towers downtown. You're going to have a very hard time. We are going to find ourselves very, very alone in this city, in this province, if we send a message to the rest of the country and to the rest of the world that if you're coming to Calgary, this is not a place of equality. This is a place where we're rolling back the rights of women, of LGBTQ community, where we have a government that holds views that are opposed, I think, to most Canadians. They're anti-immigration. I think it's going to be very hard to attract people here, too. I think another important aspect of that is having good social services like schools and healthcare. These are things that businesses look at when they're looking at what cities or provinces they're going to move to.
Let's specifically talk Beltline here, and one of the issues that cropped up was the safe injection site and the problems there. Are we reaching a point where we're able to handle what many people believe is needed, but has caused some problems?
Yeah, I mean, the number of fentanyl deaths in the province has been huge, and it's, I think, because of the economic impacts and the downturn in the oil and gas industry, it's really been felt here. I think there were hundreds of deaths per year due to fentanyl opioid overdoses. And the Sheldon Schumer site has been the only supervised consumption site in the city, so it's taken a lot of the brunt of it. I think there were a lot of concerns and things that maybe weren't addressed in the best way possible, but we're now seeing a lot of attention, and it's really been a joint effort with Calgary Police, the community associations and business associations. We're doing more programming in the area now for events.
To make it happen.
Yeah, so I think we're finally getting the collaboration in the community to make sure that this is done responsibly.
You live in the area, you're an advocate for the area. When the candidates are knocking at your door and your friends' doors, what are you asking for and what are you hoping for when you ask them their questions?
One thing I'm looking for here is continued investment in public transit. So we've got the first leg of the Green Line started. That's only going to take us, I think, from 16th Avenue in the north to like middle of nowhere industrial southeast Calgary. The plans for the Green Line, of course, are much larger. We would really like to see, or I would personally really like to see, a train line up Center Street to the airport. And so I'm asking about continued funding for the Green Line expansion and for public transit expansion. I know under the current government that was coming from the carbon levy, the carbon tax. Mm-hmm. So I'm curious where other potential governments would
fund the money.
Fund that money.
Good to have you pop by, Peter Oliver, Beltline resident, community advocate. Thanks so much.
Gord Sue, thanks so much for having me on.
It's 8:18.
And it's time now for